Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're discussing some of the fallout of the last two nominating contests, the South Carolina Republican primary, and now we're going to move over to the Democratic caucuses in Nevada. And here's I'm going to set this up. Doc, with a question that I've found interesting on both sides, but it seems to be pretty relevant for the Clinton-Sanders contest here. So Hillary comes out and wins Iowa, a state that she lost back in 2008. She barely won, but she did win. Was able to come out with more delegates but doesn't get credit for it. Okay, wins. Doesn't get credit for the win. Oh, she tied, so therefore Bernie won. Bernie comes out and crushes her in New Hampshire. Oh, Bernie, he won like gangbusters, and Hillary's down and out in New Hampshire. She comes to Nevada, no real polling. Everyone's kind of expecting Bernie to do a lot better because it's a caucus state and heavy labor, and right in his wheelhouse. And she comes out, I think, beat him by 6 points. In percentages, and got like maybe 7 or 8 more delegates than he did in Nevada. Comes out a pretty solid victory. Oh, well, she didn't do as well as she should have done, and so it's still a win for Hillary. Can't win for losing. And so I'm curious to what you think about that. What do you think is going on?
I'm going to have you answer that. I'm going to have you answer your own question. What do you think of that? And then I'll come back.
Well, I think that in 2008. The consensus view has been, well, she came out with this sort of inevitability campaign, kind of lecturing from on high, not really connecting with voters and stuff. And so the man of the people, Barack Obama, comes in and steals all of her thunder, winning on hope and change. And how do you campaign against hope and change? This time around, though, her rollout was a lot more subtle. It was a lot more, quote unquote, humbler. You're doing small events in backyards and cafes and things and getting to know people in Iowa, and not doing the same kind, shying away from the big rallies that Bernie Sanders has been doing this entire time. Bernie Sanders hasn't done the retail politics the same way that Hillary's done, and coming up doing a more Trump-like campaign, if I'm being honest with you. And so but because she's Hillary, because she is the most recognized face, the most famous woman in the world for the most part, the one everybody the inevitable candidate. Once again, the media kind of dubbed her as the presumptive nominee before she even announced. Because she's in another fight, and she's not just waxing everybody, she loses. Hillary can't win if she's winning. She can only lose. She can't if she's too funny, she's not taking it seriously enough. If she's too serious, she's not funny enough. She can't move left, she can't move right, because everybody's made up their mind about her, at least in the media. And so I'm gonna I don't hear some of the overt sexism that we've been confronted with in past campaigns of women candidates, that we saw with Carly Fiorina, that we saw with Hillary in 2008, that we've seen with Sarah Palin. But I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that if you're a woman and you're running for office in this country, that there is this, even if it's not a conscious thing, that there's this difficulty that people have with just accepting the idea of a woman running, especially for president of the United States. I think we saw that Carly had to battle the same kinds of things. I think that we saw that Sarah Palin had to battle the same kinds of things. We're not seeing that overt commentary on her dress or her appearance or whatever that we've seen in years past. But I think a lot of this resistance of like, well, she just can't do anything right, and so it's Bernie by fiat. I think that's got a large part to do with it.
Now, I will agree that she can't do anything right, but I'm going to just and Lefty and I have had a lot of conversations about this. I agree with the sexism part. I don't believe it's as overt as it has been. I don't necessarily believe that is her downfall. You talk about how she's not doing the retail politics like she had before, not like Bernie or Trump and the rest of them.
No, she is. They're not.
All right, I get it. now. The problem is going to a nice little cafe, that sounds downright homey. But the problem is you had to win a lottery in order to be invited to that. That's not how you win anything. Number two, everybody on the Democratic side, except for Deborah Wasserman Schultz, said that Hillary is not the presumptive candidate. She has not been coronated, right? This is why it looks like she can't win, because she has the entire Democratic apparatus behind her. And the people I blame strictly for her downfall in 2008 and currently in 2016 are the millennials. And the problem is you have Obama getting up there promising hope and change, and the millennials didn't quite understand what they were voting for, voted for Obama, and now they're like, holy cow, what do we vote for? That sucks. And now you have Bernie Sanders, a socialist, getting up there, getting the millennials worked up, and they still don't know what they're voting for. They just know they want things different. 3, unless she is wiping the floor with Bernie, she isn't going to be viewed as winning. She has everything, every advantage that you could have as a candidate. She's got a wealthy husband. She has wealthy benefactors. Her husband used to be a very popular president. She served as Secretary of State. She has served as a U.S. Senator. She's been First Lady. Mm-hmm. The credentials she has is staggering and astronomical. Here, what has Bernie done? He was an unemployed bum until he was 40, weaseled his way into the Senate, has been sitting there on his can, not doing anything, not getting a single anything passed, and he's running neck and neck with her. Honest to goodness, it's her race to lose. And if she isn't wiping the floor with him at every single opportunity, she's perceived as not winning. Now, I agree. She's got herself into a box. She can't move left. She tried to move left and got hammered. She can't really move right, because if she moves right, then like, well, hold on, you're just another Republican, right? So there's plenty of things to criticize her for. One of the things I love, though, is here's Bernie kicking the crap out of her in New Hampshire, and yet there is Hillary with all the delegates and superdelegates, right? And you ask Wasserman Schultz, well, hold on, how can this be? She essentially says the party needs to be in control of its candidates, and this is how we do it. At least she's right out there with it. Now, I'm going to tell you that Hillary is seen as she is a tough, hard campaigner, and that comes off a lot of times as being a cold fish. And back to that sexism thing.
That's right. That demonstrates my point.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, and you kind of laid out the case, the inexplicability of it to me. It is, I think you don't have to talk about the negatives with a Hillary Clinton that go along with the Hillary Clinton campaign to admit that she is easily, if not the most qualified candidate to ever run for president, then right up there amongst the most qualified. And it doesn't seem to be penetrating, although I think that the delegate math seems to say that Bernie doesn't have much of a shot mathematically to win the nomination. But that's where I come back to the idea of, have you ever seen a Bernie Sanders supporter go after Hillary Clinton? They go after the record a little bit. They say, well, she supported this, and she back in high school she worked for the Goldwater campaign, and she said some comment about gay people back in 1993 that wasn't very flattering, and they can't come up with anything because they can't come up with anything. They're making complaints at her as if she's a politician, which she is. As if being a professional politician is a bad thing in a government that needs more professional politicians. We have seen the alternative. We have seen what happens when you elect people that say it's my way or the highway, and that's all there is to it. We elect those guys, and then nothing, and then we wonder why the government seems so broken. A person like a Hillary Clinton who comes in as a professional politician that says, "Hey, look, the country is at this point historically, and I'm going to support what most of the country wants historically at this time." And then as the country's mood changes over time, that's not getting away from a principle. That's understanding what the voting public wants from you when it's voting for you.
Well, we're going to come back right after this break. The question I'm going to throw out to Lefty is, maybe she is the most qualified candidate in history. Doesn't mean she's going to make a good president, number one. And number two, doesn't she deserve a lot more scrutiny than somebody like Bernie Sanders? Those are the questions we'll ask when we get back. Well, I want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Bertrosian Associates, Lubinas Law Firm, Halo Capital at Des Moines Interest Rates, and Des Moines Anesthesia at 515-574-6442. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break. We'll be talking more about Bernie and